And hello, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Here we are in DCS world, and I'm gonna try to show you around a bit. This thing that I've kind of grown a passion for. It's a digital combat simulator by Eagle Dynamics, and it's pretty much at the moment my favorite simulator. So I'm going to show you basically a bit of flying around with the F5 Tiger, and it's going to be more or less just flying around, maybe dropping a few bombs, and I'll explain a bit how to use the aircraft, at least from my experience. I'm a beginner, I don't claim to be an expert, so that's about it. I hope you at least, enjoy yourselves and learn something if you want to learn something from it. And I really, really hope to make more of these videos again. If you want, you can keep watching or not. And here's pretty much the F5 Tiger. You might have seen this plane in a different livery in the movie called Top Gun. And it's pretty much, you can keep watching or not, a very popular aircraft still. I mean, it's still used by the US Navy and several other organizations and countries in the world, so why not? This plane came, I think, in service around the 1960s or 1970s. I know it has been in the Vietnam War, and it's pretty much a counterpart in DCS to the MiG-21 BIS or BIS, or however you want to call it. It's a twin-engine supersonic light fighter capable of performing multi-role capabilities. So it's pretty much something I would definitely look in a plane. Multi-role is definitely what I've always wanted. But I consider this plane a stepping stone for me to move to bigger jets. As you can see, the cockpit is, well, for me at least, it's extremely simple because there are no advanced system. I mean, this plane doesn't even have an autopilot, but it does have a radar and radar warning system, so that makes it pretty okay. But I'm gonna basically walk you through at least how I do the startup sequence. This is not by the book, some of it is by the book, and we'll see how this goes. Then we're going to take off from sunny Batumi here in Georgia. I actually kind of keep the weather nice for the moment. I'm not used to flying in bad weather yet, but, well, in time, when I get better. But if you want to consider this plane, and if you play DCS, or you want to play DCS and you want to focus on Western aircraft, I think this is a good stepping stone. I might advertise on the site for Eastern aircraft the L-39. It's a training jet. It won't make you a combat ace, but it can teach you the way Russian aircraft work. Or the MiG-21 from Leatherneck Simulation. Now I think they changed the name of the company, but anyway, Leatherneck. Another really simple aircraft from the same era as the F5. The L-39 is, I think, a bit newer, but it has a multi-crew option, which makes it pretty amazing. But without further ado, let's get to the startup. So, how the hell do we start an aircraft, or what the hell do we need? Well, what do you need to start a car? You need electrical power, you need to function a battery, right? Well, a plane needs pretty much the same thing. So, we have a little switch here on the electric panel, where we have, as you can see, battery and 2 generators. Now, we're going to turn this on. And if we look around, you see all these caution lights telling me that there's something wrong with all sorts of systems. So we have the left generator, right generator, the canopy is open, utility hydraulics, left fuel pressure, right fuel pressure, flight hydraulics, and so on. And to prepare for the start, we're just going to connect these. Then we're going to have a chat with the ground crew, our friendly ground crew. There's nothing animated for it yet. But we can use the easy comms, and we can call the ground crew, first of all, to place the wheel chocks.
Place the wheel chocks. Copy. Wheel chocks are now in place.
See, these wheel chocks. So basically when we start the engine, this plane doesn't have a parking brake. I wasn't able to find one. So these little bricks will keep the plane in place while I start the engines. Now, I have electrical power, but we don't want to drain the batteries too much, so let's ask the ground crew to connect electrical ground power.
Chief, turn on the ground power.
Copy. Ground power is now on.
Alright, we have ground power. That's good. At least we won't be draining the batteries. So the plane is normally would be a little generator here on the right or left side, and the guys would connect a cable and would provide us with AC and DC power. Next, what we're gonna do is ask the ground crew to connect only the ground air supply, but not start it. I'll get to why we need the ground air supply in a minute. So we have
Ground
power,
air supply is now connected.
the engines are not started. I mean, we don't just have an ignition key. So what are we going to do? We're going to fire up the boost pumps, these two. But before we go, let's also get ourselves rearmed. So if you go to the communications menu, you have here rearm and refuel. So I actually enjoy doing ground attacks, so there's actually a practice range that I've set up some kilometers north on the coast. And we'll take for ourselves a 150 gallon fuel tank. We don't really need that much. Let's take some bombs. Good old Mark 82s. These are bombs that came into service in the 1950s. So we're just gonna have 4 of these. And there's also an aircraft, well, that we can go after. You can tell me in the actual comments if you want what you would like to see, so I can actually show you. If you want to see air-to-air, please do let me know. I mean, after all, we're here to, you know, actually have fun together, so why not? So we're gonna ask the ground crew to give us
Request rearming.
days. Now, rearming an aircraft with started engines is a bad idea because it's very harmful for the crew. They can get, you know, this plane has very small intakes, but they can get hurt, or a number of bad things can happen. So that's something we definitely do not want. And if we look outside, we can see the crew is already working on it. Well, there's no animated crew, but they are attaching the Mark 82 bombs. 4 of them, 1 on each wing. We can carry technically,
Rearming complete.
I think, another 5, so 9 bombs, 9 Mark 82s, but well, let's not complicate ourselves too much. So now we have weapons on. What are we going to do next? Next we are going to start powering up those engines. Well, we kind of need that, right? I'm not going to close the canopy, but I'll put the oxygen system on. Well, after all, I don't want the pilot dying. And what I will do, I will ask the ground crew to apply ground power.
Chief, apply ground air supply.
Copy. Air is now applied.
Next, we're going to set the throttle to idle for the left engine. All very simple. And if we look here, we have the engine indicators. I'm going to push the starter. And now the engine's powering up. You can see on this, I'm actually going to show you the instruments up close and what they do. So we have the RPM that's going up. So 33, 34, 35, 36%. So we can actually read it here. Then we have EGT. And another nozzle indicator plus the oil pressure in our systems. This is the fuel flow. Left engine has about, this is 5, and we have pretty okay fuel quantity. Now, what we want to do, since we have the left engine started, we want to ask the guys on the ground to apply power again.
Apply ground air supply.
We're going to set this other throttle
Copy.
to idle.
Air is now
Zoom out
applied.
a bit. And I'm going to push the starter here for the right engine. The engine will eventually start. So I'm using the ground air for both of these because it's more convenient. I can technically use the left engine to pump air into the right engine and so on. I'm not going to use ATC in this mission. Normally I would, but I'm not going to. I would basically connect to the local ATC, which would be on I think 131 megahertz, something like that, or some channel anyway. We can also choose preset channels. Let's see what we have. This is the kneeboard, by the way. It's pretty handy to have. It has a lot of useful information like aerodrome charts and so on. You can also put in your custom kneeboards for missions. And as we can see, the second engine's gonna drop the fuel flow and stabilize at about 51%. We still have pretty high temperature here. I do not know why though. But otherwise the parameters seem to be fairly normal. Well, engines have started, so we can start the radio. We can set this to a preset. I think Batumi was on, I don't remember what channel it was on. But anyway, we are not using ATC. And for navigation, we have here, we're going to turn on next, a TACAN radio. So we're going to set this to channel 16X. TACAN is very similar to the actual VOR used in civilian aviation, but there's a difference. It can actually be transported by airborne stations like air-to-air tankers, which makes it very, very good. Next, we're going to set the radar to standby. We're going to turn on the dampeners, and we're going to set the chaff to single and flare to single. And now we hear the tone from the TACAN radio. Next, let's look outside a bit. We have the brakes, so we're going to retract the air brakes, and we're going to lower activate the flaps. And well, I should have done this from the beginning, but let's put on the navigation, exterior navigation and information lights. We're not flying in information mode. Radar's now in standby mode. Let's put on the radar warning receiver, and we're going to have it on search mode. Finally, we're going to close the canopy, and it's going to self-seal. And we're going to turn this gun sight. It's not a heads-up display. I will never see information here about the speed, range, or anything. I have to use these actual instruments. Now, what we have to do, we also have to trim for takeoff. But first of all, let's set our attitude indicators to about 3 degrees, because we will take off using the nose strut, which allows us to have a shorter takeoff run. So we're going to set these up. Our altimeter needs to be set to the current airfield, so it needs to basically show 0 feet. This is in imperial units, not in meters. And we're going to go a bit down here, like so. And we're going to see this little indicator here, which is the pitch trim, which we're going to set to about 6 degrees, maybe 7. And there we go. We're going to go back to the normal HUD position. Alright, well, technically we are ready to taxi, but we do need to do a few things first. We don't want to move on the ground with
Chief, turn off the
air
ground power.
and ground connected to the plane, so
Copy.
we're going to ask the
Chief, disconnect ground air
guys on the
supply.
ground to turn them off.
Ground power is now off. Copy.
And we're going to ask
Ground
them
air
to
supply
remove
is now disconnected.
Chief, remove the wheel chocks.
the wheel chucks are going to go away.
Copy. Wheel
Now
chocks are now
we're
removed.
going to look here, and we're going to set the taxi lights to on. It's basically the light attached to the nose wheel. So you kind of need to do that even if it's daytime. And technically now we would ask for the permission to taxi to the runway. What we see here is the radar warning indicator. I will explain about it as well. And let's set our takeoff course to 310, which is our runway heading. And let's bring the heading bug in the same place just to keep a good track which we were heading. Now what I'm planning is to probably take off 310, reach an altitude of about 10,000 feet. We're going to fly around a bit, then we're going to drop on the bombs and we're going to see how it works. Alright, well, let's taxi. Now this plane is a bit harder to, different to taxi because if you want to turn on the ground, here, the nose wheel doesn't turn. The rudder turns, but the nose wheel doesn't. So let's get going. There's actually a button you need to press to enable nose wheel steering. So we're gonna give it a little bit of power. Not much. The plane moves with very little power. It's actually a joy to fly. I enjoy flying it a lot. Also because it's simple. It's a very simple. Well, now we will do that, but let's not bother with the ATC at the moment. And we turn off the nose wheel steering, and we keep going forward. We're gonna cut off the power a little bit. We don't want to go too fast. 4 kilometers an hour. I'm gonna accelerate on its own. I'm gonna put it into danger speed. Turn very slowly. You have to remember to let go of the nose wheel a little bit because it can catch a bit quite a speed on the engines are quite powerful on this, and it's a twin engine. So I consider this plane in many ways the precursor to the F-18 Hornet. I mean, it doesn't, I don't know, the Hornet does seem to borrow some of the design features from the Glider, but at least the exterior looks fine. Actually Bravo here. I would probably stream a video also at some point in week 21. Those of you who are from Eastern Bloc nations, well, I hope you know, if you don't, probably you know the actual Russian aircraft. As I want to move further into DCS, the Western aircraft like the AV-8 and the Hornet. I think the F5, sorry, my tablet is actually a much better choice because the systems are more or less similar. There's almost no wind, by the way. I've had issues before taking off of bad weather. Yeah, whatever, you can see. And it's very challenging. Now, centering with the runway is actually a good idea because I would really like not to skid. I've had issues taking off with this bird before. So. I'm going to roll a few more feet. And power to idle. Tap on the brakes. And let's check our steering wheel. I shouldn't do this. I'd rather make sure I've had enough bad experiences with this bird. So. Even though I do like it, I enjoy flying it. Alright, I think we are ready to go. I'm letting off the brakes. We're gonna check, well, we should check before, but left and right clear. But here we're already on the runway. And we're gonna advance the throttle very, very, very slowly. Both engines are spooling up. It's going a bit to the left. I'm hoping to reach 50 knots so I can use the fine tunes of the rudder to keep it centered. There we go. And military power. Afterburner on. 200. We're gonna pull the stick all the way back for it to slowly get off the runway. Alright, that was the angle of attack indexer, and we're climbing. We're climbing about 1000 feet per minute. Let's start trimming for level flight. We're climbing a bit too fast. Gear up. Flaps are now on auto mode. This actually has a computer that deals with the flaps config. I think I've seen the same thing on the F-16, but I don't remember. I think the F-16 has something like that. So we're gonna fly here runway heading 309 or 308 a bit and climb. That's too much fuel, even though we do have an external fuel tank. So. And we're gonna put the engines at about 50%. We don't need to go faster than this. You do see a ship probably in my front view. So this is just it's the Caucasus map, but I'm climbing very slowly. We're gonna fly around a bit then. We're gonna go see what we can do about those targets. But as you can see, I'm not really in a hurry. I'm not flying very fast here, and I do have ordnance on my wings. 5,000 feet. Now let's turn a bit south, I guess. Actually north. We could go about... Yeah, let's go about 350 north. We can see this is the Black Sea coast, by the way, Georgian coast, and there's also part of it is in Russia. And now the plane will pretty much at least try to settle. Let's give it a bit of nose up. Let's trim for climb. It will just climb on its own. Let's trim a bit the ailerons as well. It was going a bit to the sides. As I said, no autopilot. This is no hands. I'm simply just trimming the aircraft. So what instruments do I have? Obviously I have an altimeter. This is the speed, so I'm flying about 470 knots. I have an ADI, attitude indicator, VVI or VSI, vertical speed indicator, or virtual velocity indicator, or climb rate indicator, however you want to call it. I have an HSI, which is showing that I'm 10 miles or 19 miles away from the airport, and I'm on a heading of 350. Angle of attack indicator, and I have here a small backup ADI. Here's a clock if I want to use it. Radar warning indicator. It's showing me there's an E3 Sentry, an AWACS aircraft flying on this map. I do fly other aircraft on this map as well, so I might use the AWACS. I don't fly the F-15. I just not really a big fan of the F-15, I guess. And as you know, here are the engine indicators, and fuel quantity indicators. So Alright, we have everything on. Everything seems to be going fine. We're at 9,600 feet. And we're flying at about, let's see how many miles away from the airport. 26. And we're gonna climb maybe a little bit more. We're a bit on a kind of a turning here, but alright, there we go. Now we're more or less level flight. Well, still climbing, so let's trim that nose down a tiny bit. Give it a bit more power to both engines, and I'll just take control of the stick here. Now my practice range is somewhere there on the coast. It's where I cannot see it yet. And let's actually fly all the way to the mountain range in the north. Then as we descend, we're gonna deal with the mountain range. So what else can I tell you about the F5? Well, it does have a radar, as I said. It's a fairly decent plane for its time. I mean, it cannot fly. This variant cannot fly radar guided missiles, just AIM-9 P5s or AIM-9 Ps, which are heat seekers. The radar does help the plane with the gunnery, though. It does have two 20mm cannons in the front, so it's a pretty good dogfighter. Well, on the throttle we have all sorts of switches like air brakes, flaps, and so on. Let's put the radar in operating mode, which is what we should be doing. And now the radar is simply scanning for contacts. Well, I could always, of course, communicate with the AWACS, but let's see. Now I'm actually flying left-handed here because I don't have a HOTAS, so I have just a very basic Thrustmaster joystick. It works, it does the job, but I'm planning to buy me a HOTAS anytime, so sometime soon. So. And let's activate the external fuel. E3 is somewhere that way. And he's just being an AWACS, you know, monitoring airspace. So what else can I tell you about the F5? Well, navigation system wise, as you saw, it has only a TACAN radio, which is a lot like the VR. Also, it has an ADF radio if you want to use ADF. So it will be able to use your NDBs here on the Caucasus map, or any map that will come with NDBs. So it's gonna be just fine if you want to stick flying planes of its era. So now don't go against F-15s or Su-27s with this. You will just get die, but if you know what you're doing, you can actually do some pretty much damage to those newer fighters, because while you do have a radar, you have heat seekers and very decent guns, so you can dogfight with them if you want. But the drawback is you can only carry 2 air-to-air missiles, so the MiG-21 does outgun you in that regard as an, let's say, interceptor. So it does outgun you a tiny bit. Let's see what does the AWACS have to say about the picture?
Overlord, forward 1-1. Request picture.
Ford 1-1, Overlord. Signal group at Bulls 286. Fort 120 at 35,000.
Okay, so we have an aircraft. We might go after it later, but why do we have a caution? Well, let's investigate. External tanks empty. That is why. Well, let's get rid of the external tanks, shall we? And tank is now gone. We've jettisoned it successfully, so we're now just running on internal fuel. And let's... Our left wing is a bit... Okay, well, nothing. A bit of aileron trim won't solve, so... This area is actually quite beautiful. I do like the mountains. These are the Caucasus Mountains. And the makers who actually, the Eagle Dynamics who made the map, have a pretty accurate map of the Caucasus region in Georgia and Russia. It's actually quite beautiful, and I do like it. We're doing about 400 knots, so we're not going supersonic. I haven't been supersonic with this. I have been supersonic with the MiG. Actually, the MiG is a lot of fun. And we're flying about 040 and 79 miles from the station, so but I will always know which way the station is, which way home is. I don't know exactly what the TACAN range on this is, but as you can see, this is pretty much the area I usually fly over. Batumi is, for Blue Team at least, it's my main, it's my home base when it comes to Blue Team. I have all sorts of aircraft there, and I have some aircraft set up at Kutaisi, so yeah, we're still climbing. I mean, I never wanted to go down. As I said, when we reach the mountains, we're gonna turn down again south, basically in that way, that direction. And we're gonna fly over the sea, and we're gonna start trying to hit the runway, the abandoned runway at my practice range. I know this might look very boring, and flying might look very boring, but I actually enjoy it. For me, this is a way to relax. I've always wanted to be a pilot, but probably I'll never be one, so... And yeah, I know civilian flying might be interesting, but I don't know. It's just, there's no fun in it. Of course, I don't want to kill people and everything, but you know, I want to. If I would be a pilot, at least I want to do something meaningful, not just ferry people around. Well, it's meaningful, I guess. People get to their homes or to their destinations safely, but of course we can look around. There's the clouds. We're flying at about 18,000, and we are descending. So. And, oh look, there's a mountain road and some villages there. I think there's also a river in this area, or it might be a, no, it's yeah, it's the other valley next to Kutaisi, which is another town around here. where I have the other aircraft. I have a squadron of MiGs there and some Vigans, AJS-37 Vigans. The double G there is a killer for me, but okay, so we have a viewer who actually watched this. Yoda, I'm sorry mate, I haven't used any streaming software much before, so I didn't know that the quality could be set as better than it is, but I hope this, is a good lesson for me that I should improve the quality of the videos in the future. Please don't be shy and don't be a stranger, but well, definitely do come and watch again. I mean, if you like aviation, just come in and watch again. I might have different topics in the future, so. All right, how was it? But yeah, sorry for being quiet. I was just, well, contemplating the views, I guess, and trying to keep the bird under control. Not that it needs much input from me, but. Well, let's check our fuel quantity. We're still fine. I mean, we are going to go back, refuel, and rearm, I guess, after we deal with the targets. Now, there's actually certain procedures that I'm trying to memorize on how to deal with ground targets. I should really write them down somewhere or print them, but basically our bombs are free, so really that we will follow is we are going to fly at 6,000 feet. We're still descending for it, but not very fast. Okay, we're going about 2,000 feet per minute. Let's cut off that descent rate a bit, and let's try to keep her level. All right, and well, basically at 6,000 feet or 7,000 feet, I think was the other option. No, 5,000 or 6,000. Apologies. We need to dive about 20 or 30 degrees down at about 350 knots and start deploying the weapons. Basically, the release is about 1,500 knots. So we need to go down, nose down, 30 degrees, put the target in our aiming paper, which we will have to configure, by the way, the gun sight. And then we're going to try to hit a target. Now the targets I have there are a convoy of BTR-80s, Russian infantry fighting vehicles, and a few helicopters on the runway. So the goal is to at least try to hit one of the helicopters that's on the runway. The helicopters won't shoot back, but the BTR-80s will. So yeah, that's gonna be fun. Those BDR-80s have been the death of me so many times. It's not even funny. So, configuring the paper, we're gonna try to drop them from 10,000 feet, not 10,000, 6,000 feet. So, we're gonna set a depression of about 80 degrees down. That's our aiming window. And first we're gonna go for the helicopters. We're gonna make sure the speed is appropriate, so we're gonna try to keep her descending. The airbrake will fly off. I just put the throttle down so we can start reducing speed to about 350 knots. I'm just toying here with the throttle. We're about 8,600 feet. The target will be in sight soon. It's pretty hard to miss on a sunny day. The speed is, well, we're almost at the correct speed. Let's try just to keep flying. It's very close to the Kobuleti Air Base, which is somewhere here. We might just overfly the Kobuleti Airfield. We're basically trimmed. Okay, we're trimmed fairly okay. I don't have to do much.
Overlord, passing waypoint 3 at 40,000.
Yeah, that's our AWACS, AI AWACS, informing us where he is. AI will do that, but I wish there would be better live ATC solutions for DCS. Where people could actually be, you know, doing proper air traffic control, but well, I'll take what I'll get. Let's give it a bit more speed. We're flying about 300 knots, which is quite slow, but there's the runway. I can already see it. It's on the left side of my gun sight. And we have another radar warning that the E3 is close by and it pinged us with its radar, so nothing to be scared of, it's a friendly. The helicopters are basically facing southwest, so we're gonna turn a little bit here while maintaining a fairly stable profile. Trying to, at least. We're gonna descend at about 1,000 feet per minute, and our target is to our right. It's just behind my compass now, so you don't see it, but there it is. And I'm descending. I'm gonna try to keep her steady. And I'll check our speed. We're doing about 350, which is good. And let's start preparing our weapons for configuring our weapons for launch. And we're gonna launch the outer bombs first, and we're gonna set this thing to bombs. We're gonna arm the nose fuse for the bomb. They have both tail and nose fuses, so we can use whichever we want. We're gonna turn and go a bit nose up. We know our target's somewhere on that abandoned runway, so okay, let's check our speed, our altitude. Let's start descending now. This is a bit too high, but we're gonna go on a more shallow dive at first. Then there's the helicopters. I actually see them. And okay, that was a bit too low, but we're gonna again, and we're gonna try another run from southeast to northwest. The BTRs are already shooting at me like crazy bastards. They really want to kill me. And I'm gonna try to climb at about 7,000, turn 5 level, and start descending to 6,000. Then we're gonna give those helicopters a nice surprise. And while I turn, I'm gonna still be climbing. I'm gonna give myself a bit more power. Well, that's a bit too much. Let's do a sharper turn here. The plane will be fine. You don't have to worry about it. The plane will survive such a turn. It's actually built to take pretty high Gs, so there we are. Going back level. Our target is beneath our nose. I know where we are, so it's not a problem. Let's start our descent and turn. Not the best turn into target, but not the worst either. 30 degrees down. There are the helicopters, and let's try to aim at the second one. For some reason the weapon didn't go, because we have our... I had forgotten to I apologize for keeping you so much waiting to see a bomb falling and nothing, so let's climb again. Let's turn again. It's a very high G turn, by the way. But this is a fighter jet, I guess it's supposed to be able to handle it. I haven't been able to crash any of these planes just because of high G turns. Whoa, we climbed about 9,000. That's pretty high, actually. Alright, let's level off. And speed down. Wow, that's a pretty vertical dive for me. Wow, that was a close one. Hey, that was good. I'm usually not that accurate with dive bombing, but that was pretty good. I'm pleased with myself. I'm gonna check my fuel quantity though, so. And let's kick in the afterburner and climb faster. The last target I'm gonna try to hit is the BTR 80s on the road. Let's choose our other bomb and prepare to go for the target again. I've been actually practicing with this map quite a lot. So let's see. Again, a pretty high G turn. There's the airfield. This poor pilot's gonna hate my guts, but yeah, let's go a bit down. And we're going for another run at the helicopters, then finally we're going to do an east-to-west pass and try to use ripple bombing on those BDR-80s. They doesn't have given me, as I said, a lot of headaches, so... And we did try to come in a bit too fast there, so... And we're gonna dive. Engines to idle. I usually put them to idle when I dive, it's a, I guess, old habit. We're gonna try to drop it a bit before the helicopter. Well, those BTR-80s don't give up. Unluckily for them that they're next. We're gonna set our weapon configuration properly, so we're gonna choose 2 stations. We're gonna drop 2 bombs, and we're gonna leave. We're gonna set the interval of the bomb drop to 0.6 seconds. After the bombs, we're gonna head home and land. I'm actually gonna thank you ahead of time for sticking with me. It's probably very boring what I do here, but I actually enjoy this a lot. So. Alright, 7,000 feet, not 70,000 feet. Let's level off. We're on military power again. Let's trim the nose down a bit. And now at 8,000 feet, we're gonna start turning into the range again. Now those BTR-80s are on the road. I know exactly where they are, so that's why I'm going to, for the exact targets. I would probably not know otherwise if it was some other mission, but I know this one because I made it. It's a free, as I said, it's a free flight map. You can basically fly and have fun. Let's try to identify the target range we have. There it is. Now we're gonna turn. And there's about, what, 6 BTR-80s there that are basically supposedly defending the airfield from air attacks. So, yeah, obviously not the best choice, but there are also some trucks around here, but I'm not gonna go for the trucks. I mean, the trucks are just there for fun. So, if I want to fly a helicopter and gun down something easier, I'll just go for the trucks. And I need to turn a bit here because I'm gonna fly over the road. Let's not let this bird sink. Not. Alright, let's see. This is good enough, I guess. We're gonna dive. We can correct our dive here because this is ripple bombing. It's a bit different in my opinion. But alright, we're gonna launch the bombs at about 1,500 feet. Let's dive a bit more. So see, 2 bombs basically hitting almost the same target at very low interval of launch. That's pretty much ripple bombing. I have to get better with this, but hey, I'm getting there. Accelerate and turn to about heading 243 or 245, so we can head out to sea, and we're going to use then the navigation system to go back to the airbase. We will not be landing from the mountainside. It's far more dangerous. Plus, I can use the TACAN and sea approach, which is much easier. So let's check our heading. We're going to go about 243. We're going to go up a bit. That's again our radar warning system's on. Let's put it to mill power again. And we haven't completed our turn yet. Let's use the ATC this time. Batumi, we are inbound. Now, the thing is, we need to do is to start braking again, to start descending this plane. The goal is to reach about, let's say, 2,500 feet, then to the turn into the runway and do a very shallow descent. I'm simply bleeding off speed here. I'm gonna turn to 310. I'll basically fly parallel vector to the runway, then turn in as I descend. So it's more or less merging with a very wide landing pattern. So all right, let's go down. And E3 is at it again. It's telling us, okay, we're for low fuel, so luckily we're not using afterburners anymore, so we can just land. Our left fuel tank's almost gone. Right one's still serviceable, but and this bird wants to go down, so I need to keep an eye on it as well. And we're gonna keep flying. About 14 miles, and we should have been lower by now, but and let's turn now more or less perpendicular to the runway. I'm also gonna try to reference the coast visually. So we know the station is to our left. So we're gonna, there's the boat. Yeah, the boat's not very far from the station. Let's try turning into the station and adjust for landing later. I'm not using the map here or anything. I'm just trying to follow the TACAN indications to the runway. Let's set here the course to 130. So the station is about 110 degrees. of our headings. Set this to about 129-ish. And let's start flying into the station. We're flying very slow, it's less than 400. I'm gonna try to catch up a bit of speed as we approach the coast again before landing, but there I can actually see the airfield, so the lines you see, by the way, on the bottom of the radar are clutter from the ground, so the MiG-21 gets clutter from both clouds and ground. It's unable to filter the environment, so that's one of its drawbacks, I guess, for that old piece of radar. But left tank is almost gone. Let's set the auto balance to auto left low, so we keep the tanks balanced. Okay, there's our runway, I already see it. We were climbing again. Trying to keep a decent descent rate. We're about 13 miles away from the runway. And I'm keeping a steady 350 knots here. I should go lower, but I don't want to stall the aircraft, so I've been able to land this bird pretty well, so I think if I can land this, it's, as I said, I'm not accurate at bombing, but getting better. Let's try to descend a little bit faster though. Got the power to the engines a bit more. We don't really need engine power that much here. At least this is how I landed, so I haven't had any issues with it thus far. Gear down. Well, we should have been lower here, but okay, we're coming in a bit too fast. And I want to keep it fast. I can actually break off the speed, that reduce speed as needed, but flaps are full. That means basically they're creating drag for us. So now if I'm gonna reduce the engine power, we're gonna start losing speed, which is basically what I've been wanting. So, okay, I was looking a bit too low at the instruments. Now the virtual speed indicator is quite important here because I don't want to descend below a certain rate, and I'm using the engines to keep her from stalling. Not very well aligned with the runway, but and now the speed's gonna descend gradually as I go in, so I'm on idle power, by the way. I'm gonna go a bit lower, stabilize her, give her a bit more. And landing left-handed is gonna be a pain. And we're gonna pull the chute. What is this chute? Well, it's this thingy right here. It's basically keeping us reducing our speed. We're 7 kilometers an hour now. Well, that was me pressing F1.
Ford 1-1. Batumi, you are cleared for takeoff when ready. Climb 300 at
And we cut off the chute. We're gonna give the engines a bit of power. So we can actually taxi on the ground. The next taxiway is quite further away, so. Much quieter in the cockpit, huh? And again, we're on the ground. We're going to have to use the nose wheel steering that the aircraft comes with to... Let's stow this chute control. We don't need it. We already basically cut off the chute, cut loose the chute.
Ford 1-1. Batumi, clear to taxi to runway 31.
I didn't even request takeoff, but anyway, whatever you say. Departure spot was in front of the terminal, so that's what I'm trying to get to. It's actually another, yeah, it's that red circle thing ahead. That's where we're trying to get to. And finally shut down the aircraft. We're gonna turn a bit here, and let's see. We're gonna put the engines to idle, slam the brakes. Well, it's really slam the brakes. Now we're gonna, since we are on the ground, we're gonna ask the grounded to place the wheel chocks again.
Chief, place the wheel chocks.
Alright. And we're gonna start shutting down the engines.
Wheel chocks are now in place.
First the left engine. And if we look at the instruments, we can see it powering down. Then we're gonna open the cockpit. Finally the right engine. The plane is now battery power, so I'm just gonna shut down the rest of the systems. I forgot to turn these off and put the weapons to safe, so that's another mistake. I really need to remember these better. Oxygen system off. Auto balance, center. External pylons off. Boost pumps off. We don't really use the engines anymore. Yaw dampers are off. Radar off. Lights off. Exterior lights. This plane also has internal lights. And finally generators 1 and 2 off. And battery power off. And well, one thing we forgot was the taxi light, but that was it. We flew the F5 Tiger, we took off, we dropped some bombs, I talked a lot and a lot of nonsense. I would like to thank you for watching this. I'm actually just practicing with the Tiger now, preparing for the newer American aircraft coming, the AV-8 and the Hornet. I'll probably start with the AV-8 because it's one of my favorites. And probably then move on to the Hornet. But yep, this is it. It's the F5 Tiger. You're gonna see me flying this again. Here's the aircraft we're going to shoot down into one. It's just a Russian passenger that goes around. I don't have AWACS, that's just flying around. But yeah, this is it. Well, Thanks all for watching. I would really, really thank you all for watching. And as I said, I would like to see you again. And I hope you had fun. I hope I wasn't too boring. If you have questions, please leave them in comments, as there were not many people watching at the time when I was recording. Leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them, or feel free to send me private messages. Feel free to tell me how awesome I am or how stupid I am. I do not mind. Constructive criticism and criticism is welcome. I mean, after all, I mean, I'm trying to improve and I hope everybody is as a person. This is one of the things that interests me and has interested me for as long as I've lived. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. Have yourself a nice Sunday. It's Saturday night here, so I'm gonna scooch on, put my boots on the counter and watch some telly probably. Who knows? I'll just go to sleep. Anyway, thanks for watching.